Today I am hanging out. Tracey, I don't know how long we have known each other, but it has been a long time, and maybe you can recall how we met. But today I am joined by probably the number one safety authority in the United States for real estate professionals, my girl Tracey Hawkins, who happens to have a twin, even though y'all don't look identical to me, right? Which is Stacy. I think I got all that right, didn't I?
You
What's
did,
going
you
on,
did.
Tracey?
Nothing. When you said that about the number one safety expert, you said that back in Orlando, and it's like, did Marky say that about me? And then you just said it again, so I know you said it on purpose. And Stacey and I are twins, and we're supposed to be identical. I don't think we are, but people say we have the same face, different hair. So I get called Stacey more than Tracey. So go figure.
So, yes, I do believe that you're the number one authority because you're the person who I've consistently seen. And it's not that I've consistently seen you over the past, 12, 18, 24 months, or even in the pandemic, because we have a lot of new so-called experts that came out of the pandemic. But you have been at the forefront of real estate safety for well over a decade. And I believe that I met you probably between 2008, 2010, right? So consistently, when something happens in this country on safety as it pertains to a realtor, someone being attacked, someone being kidnapped, someone passing away as a result of a safety issue, I'm getting this information from something that you posted, and instantly I'm thinking, oh, how sad is this? But let me come back. A lot of people don't realize that in the world of real estate, when we look at homicide, being a realtor is in the top 10 professions in this country for homicide. And it is because we are the only profession that meets complete strangers at a property and lock ourselves on the same side of the door. Police officers don't do that. Firemen don't do that. We're the only profession that does that. And to me, that's a problem. But I'm here today, look, Tracey, because I can get on my look, I don't know nothing about safety like you do. I can get on my little itty bitty safety box and go to town. I want you to educate my audience about the concerns, what you're seeing, and what can we do in order to protect ourselves, but more importantly, how to protect our clients, our customers, and consumers.
Okay, so, you said a whole lot there, and you said it. I couldn't say it better.
Okay, I said a lot. So tell people who you are, what you do, and how long you've been doing it.
Okay, I am a former real estate agent. And as you mentioned, I have a twin sister. She and I got our real estate licenses together, I want to say about 35 years ago. She's still a practicing agent. She's one of those active super agents, as you probably realize by now. But I decided after a while that real estate sales wasn't for me. I wanted to do something different, something no one else was doing, and something that would allow me to serve the community. So I got into the safety business. I opened a safety store in a mall. But before that, I was working and part-time. I was selling like pepper spray and alarms to local retail stores here in Kansas City. And then the next thing I know, I was in a store in a mall. I did that for a few years, and then I needed to get out and start talking. I am a talker. So it's like, I need to get out. And so I started speaking all around Kansas City at every real estate office in Kansas City, at the board, at the largest company in Kansas City. I was doing their new agent training. And then the next thing you know, I was doing it on a national level. And like you said, not a lot of people do this. And whenever there is a tragedy, and you said it so perfectly, and I didn't know if people realize that, but whenever there's a tragedy, these so-called experts pop up and say, hey, I'm a real estate safety expert. And it's like, you can't just call yourself that. You have to earn the title. So I live and breathe real estate safety. It's what I do, and safety is all I do. I do home health safety, I do personal safety, but real estate safety is my area of expertise. And like you said, I made myself an expert. I know the stories, I know the statistics. And when we look at the job description, like you said, real estate agents make a living sitting in empty houses, waiting for strangers to walk in. Real estate agents make a living meeting complete strangers at empty houses. And that's the job description. For that reason, the U.S. Department of Labor considers real estate sales and leasing a high-risk, hazardous occupation. How could they not? And it's right up there with law enforcement officials, security officials, convenience store clerks, as well as Uber taxi drivers. It's a dangerous job. My whole focus is not to scare agents from being in the real estate field, but to provide solutions to allow them not only to do their jobs, but also to serve the consumer. And that came out of necessity. All I do is safety. I don't do other jobs and then do safety on the side. All I do is safety. So in order to stay in business, in order to make a living, I had to find a way to make safety attractive. And I got my aha moment about 7 or 8 years ago, Marky, when I would call on an association or board, everybody is like, yeah, no. Finally, an education director just broke it down for me. She said, Tracey, I'd love to have you. You know, your information is great. We need it. She said, but it's not good business. It's like, what are you talking about? She said, real estate. She said, I can't invest in you. No one would show up. She said, real estate agents only show up for training when you're teaching them how to make more money. So it's like, okay, I hear you. So how do I make real estate safety profitable? So I had to put on my thinking cap. And what I do, and I needed to make a living doing this. So it's like, what can I do? So I created a designation. And you and I met at that conference in Wichita. And then I remember going there thinking, you know, how do I get the big boys to pay attention to me to endorse my designation? I couldn't get anyone to pay attention. And finally, someone said, Tracey, make your own. You don't need anyone to endorse you. Make your own designation. So I made my own. And I've had, I want to say 700 agents complete my designation. And my designation is, here's how you can work in a safe manner. Here's how you can build your business by protecting the consumer. So I'm creating handouts and marketing materials like, here's a seller security checklist. So when you walk in the door on a listing appointment, here's how you're going to stand out. You have this checklist. So you're telling your sellers or the potential sellers, you know, I need you to get pictures off of the wall, get schedules off the wall, get medicine out of medicine cabinet, jewelry out of jewelry boxes. Here's the kind of lighting you need. Here's the locks you need. Walk in from the mindset that you are serving them and you want them, their families, and their possessions to be safe when their house is on the market. And I guarantee you that seller is going to think, oh, this agent, out of all of the agents that I've interviewed, this one's really looking out for me. And the thing that I've done that's probably been the most popular thing is I created a FSBO safety tip sheet. I know I have given away thousands upon thousands of those because I'm saying FSBOs don't like you. Real estate agents don't bother calling FSBOs. They don't like you. They don't respect the work that you do because they think, I can do that. How hard is it to put a sign in the yard, sell my own house, save the commission? They don't respect you. But here's what you need to do. Take this sheet that I created for you. It's 13 safety tips. Hand it to them, put it in their door handle, mail it to them, but do not talk about bringing clients. Don't talk about how much money they're going to net. Just say, I'm looking out for you. And what's on that sheet would be, don't let strangers in your house, which is what they're doing. Get medicine out of medicine cabinets, jewelry out of jewelry boxes. Don't show alone. 13 safety tips that they never thought about. So by the time they get to number 13, they're thinking, oh my God, what am I doing? This is dangerous. This is crazy. What are we doing? The business card that is stapled to that sheet is the one that's going to rise to the top of the stack. I bet you that's the real estate agent who's going to get a phone call when they realize how dangerous what they're doing. So I've had to make safety, how do I say it? Business building, teach agents how to make more money, how to build their business, and how to make it home safely every night.
So here's what stood out, because it's not something that I've ever heard anyone else say. Take the schedule off the wall, right? So we take our jewelry and we put it up, and according to Lamont Ellaby, do not put it in the underwear drawer because that's the number one place that people store their belongings. So guess what I had to do? At one point, when I was ciphering money out of my bank accounts because I owed the IRS and they had sent me that nice little certified letter on what they was going to do, I had pulled. Let me be clear. I don't have the money in my house anymore because I don't owe the IRS bupkis. But
Right.
I was hoarding money in my house, tens of thousands of dollars, right?
Wow.
I'm gonna say it again. The money ain't here, so don't be coming over here to visit. But I had tens of thousands of dollars stored in my house, right?
Mm.
My husband was a wreck. And this went on. I had this money stored here for maybe 4 years, 5, and it kept, look, it kept compounding it, right? So I was pulling more and more out. Let me laugh at myself. Okay. So I realized that one of the drawers that I had the money in, right, was an underwear drawer. It took me forever to find me another hiding place in my house because I heard that that is the number one place that thieves go to. But the one thing that I've never thought to take down would be the schedule, letting people know when people are not or are at home. So just that one little tip now is like, And when people are taking photos and videos, they can easily take a picture. This mobile device right here, there are pros and cons, but it can scan anything, including the medicine, right? That's in the medicine cabinet. And on the Google Lens app, I can do reverse photo lookup. I can know exactly what's wrong with you based on the drugs in which you take. Whew.
Yep,
Okay.
that's a good one.
Get the schedule off the wall. So you provide the 13 tips safety sheet just for realtors to use in order to differentiate themselves?
Yep, and it's something that I create agents, and that's something I wrote an article in Realtor magazine, and I talked about how to use that sheet. And it's like, request the sheet. I want to give it to real estate agents because it's serving two purposes. One, it's a tool that agents can use to get in front of FSBOs and for sell by owners. And number two, it really serves a purpose. One of the benefits of being a realtor is that you're supposed to serve the community. So even if they don't list with you, you're telling them things they never thought about for their safety. So you're serving the community. So it's twofold.
Okay. As a realtor, what are 5 top safety tips or 5 things that I need to carry on my person at all times? It could be one, the other, or a combination.
The first one is something you're born with. You already have it. It's your gut instinct, intuition, sixth sense, fight or flight, spidey sense, whatever you want to call it. Every animal in nature has that built-in survival mechanism. Human beings are the only ones who ignore it. And we ignore it because we want to be polite. We don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. And I have this book back here. I don't know if you can see this. It's called The Gift of Fear by Gavin De Becker. This is my favorite book. This book ought to be required reading. And he was always on Oprah. That's how I found him. Always an author on Oprah. And he talks about respecting that fear signal that we all possess. And so that's number one. Listen to it, obey it. Its sole job is to keep us safe. For those of us who blow it off, oh, it's silly. I don't know what that means. It doesn't make sense. Its sole purpose is to keep us safe. So that's number one. Number two is be aware, be alert who you're working with. And when people say, I only work in good parts of town, or I only work in the daytime, don't show at night, I'm saying, stop it. Stop. As long as criminals have cars, there's no such thing as a good part of town. And as a matter of fact, the upscale luxury part of town, that's where the good stuff is. So when you let your guard down, when you're in the upscale neighborhoods, you're setting yourself up for danger. And then I hear people say, don't show at night, only show in the daytime. And those are people who don't understand the stories. What I know is most of the crimes that occur in the daytime. So you're telling an agent whose only pay is commission, don't work in the time that your customers, your clients, your consumer is available. So it doesn't even make sense. So that's when safety goes in one ear and out the other ear. That's when agents tune people out because you're saying something not realistic. I am saying no matter when you work, no matter where you work, be alert, be aware, know who you're working with. Number 3, know who you're working with. That means do your homework. That means check them out. There are apps on the market. There's one that most people are familiar with. It's called Forewarn. And Forewarn serves a purpose. Most associations of boards across the country are using Forewarn, but here's what I need to say about Forewarn, and I'm very familiar with them. I interview them when I'm writing about any safety app or any safety technology, but what you need to know is that it has its limitations. Number 1, Forewarn's job is to confirm someone's identity. What it will do, it will tell you if there are any criminal convictions. So if there is a crime and this person that you're going to meet with has been convicted of a crime, you will know about it. The problem with that is that the statistic says there are like a person commits 11 crimes before they're caught. So here you are entering your phone number to get a criminal background check on someone, and it comes up clean. You let your guard down and you think all is well, when in fact, you might be that statistic that's not happened yet. So use forewarn as it was intended to confirm an identity. It will tell you who owns the phone. If it is a throwaway phone or a disposable phone, it's going to tell you. So you get to make the decision if you want to work with someone who feels the need to have a disposable phone. It's going to tell you if there are any criminal convictions. One thing, whenever I read a story about a crime against a real estate agent, and I'm thinking the most recent one was the agent in Las Vegas. When we look at the perpetrator, his record was a mile long. If that agent would have taken the time to do a search on that person, they would have never met them. So there is value there. Forewarn will also let you know whether or not a person's finances hold up, if they've had a foreclosure, if they have any financial issues. And here's one thing, Marky, that most agents don't do. They don't check out the sellers. So we do everything with the buyers. We look at their social media to check them out. We Google them. We run them through Forewarn. But what about the seller? You are being invited into someone's home. You have no clue who they are, but here you go happily to a stranger's home. You sit in a home with a stranger and you just assume they are who they say they are. I'm saying time out. You need to do the same search, property search. You can go to county records, run it through Forewarn. You need to verify who you're meeting in that house as well. So that way you know who you're working with and you know if they really own the house. I forgot what number I left off on.
Well, wait. Well, we gonna I think we was at number 3 or 4, but here's where I want to go with this. The gut instinct. Let me say the Chicago Association of Realtors, which is my local association, we do provide Forewarn for our members. That'll be first. The second one is you caught me the second time already because I have never checked the sellers out. I go to make sure that the person who said they have the right to sell the property. If not, we need to have all the owners there, right? But I have never researched them. So shame on me. And guess what? Sellers are just as crazy and criminal as the buyers are, right? So oops, I will be correcting that. When you talked about your gut instincts, the first thing I wrote down was Bishop Street. So Bishop was a listing I had many years ago. An agent had called to schedule an appointment for his buyer. When I show up to Bishop, the property is vacant, and it's a ton of other people coming to bring their clients to see the property. The gentleman approaches me, okay? Mm-hmm. When he approached me, instantly by looking at him, I'm clear he's not the voice that set up the appointment. Mm-hmm. So I said, well, where is your agent? He says, my agent is not available. That's what he said. I said, oh, really? I said, well, did your agent provide you with a business card to give me? He said, no. I said, well, I'm sorry to inform you, you will not be seeing this listing today. And he wasn't much bigger than me, and I'm short. And he revved up. He got an attitude, right? And I politely threatened to whoop his ass. Let me just let you know. So it was a group of old men in a van. And I backed up. I just backed up and was standing in the middle of the street. And I pointed at the van. I said, are you with him? And they said, oh, no, not the way you gonna whoop his ass. Like they all threw their hands up, right? They was in the guy like, we not with him, right? So as other agents were coming, I pulled 2 to the side and I told them, hey, I don't know who this dude is, but will you stay with me to walk him through the property? Right. Yes. And they stayed and they walked him through the property and I locked it up. And he said, you really weren't going to show me the property. I said, oh, no, we was going to have a whole situation over here on Bishop today, because what I'm not doing is showing someone something that I have no idea who they are. But through what you're discussing here, I've made a lot of mistakes. Right.
But you are here now. You survived. So if you made any mistakes, you're here. You listen to your gut. And you were not afraid to speak up. No. So many agents are. They don't want to hurt someone's feelings, so they would have gone along with it. So good for you.
I don't care about your feelings being hurt. Let me tell you why. I don't know what TV show this was years ago, but it said, never let them get you behind closed doors by yourself. So whatever they're going to shoot you, let them shoot you on the ground in front of your house, because at least somebody will hear it, be able to see it and help you. But if they get you behind closed doors, they can torture you and do anything to you. So my whole entire goal has always been to not allow anyone to get me behind closed doors. Also, what I've noticed, and this is not just for real estate agents, put the phone down. If I'm on the phone in my car, and you can ask anybody, I will tell them I've just arrived at home. Let me call you once I get in. I don't walk in the house with the phone on my ear unless my husband or Austin is standing outside on the front porch waiting for me and I can see them standing there. Then I'll continue the discussion. If no one is there, I am putting that phone up so that I can pay attention to my surroundings. But I'm amazed at how many women I have seen walking through garages talking on their phone. And it's just baffling to me because people are hiding, people are watching you. I'm watching you thinking what a high level of stupidity that is, that you can't find enough time to protect yourself and tell that person you will call them back. And let me be clear, because we're in a garage, their conversation is echoing, which means I know you ain't talking about nothing, or oftentimes you're talking about confidential information that I should not be privy to. So,
right.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
let me back up. You're more brilliant than you even realize. So when you talked about behind closed doors, what you're talking about is crime scene number 2. If my memory serves me, and I have a whole lot of stuff going in here, like I said, I never turn it off. It never stops. There was a detective named J.J. Bittenbinder. I feel strongly that he was in Chicago. And I remember hearing never go to crime scene number 2. Crime scene number 2 is, like you said, where they take you away from wherever you are and they do what they're going to do. Let them do it right there, right on site. If you are standing in front of a house or in a house, if they say they're going to do something, you're just going to have to say, do it. Don't take me away, because if they take you away, they're taking you to crime scene number 2. And that's where it's going to end. So excellent point. Thank you so much for bringing that up.
Crime scene number 2. Okay, so let's just get it done. Crime scene number 1. Okay, so these were the tips we got. We got that the gut instinct, because it is a gift of fear. Be aware, do our homework, leverage tools like the forewarn, right? Mm-hmm. Also, make sure that we're checking out the sellers in the same manner in which we are checking out the buyers. And you know what? Even though that's not a fair housing rule, it sounds very much like we should apply the same tactics we would in a fair housing situation, right? Do the same identical thing to the sellers in your research that you're going to do with the buyer. So then I think we might have...
To take that a step further, thank you for bringing up fair housing. If you do it to one, you do it to all. So it's not just some who are okay, or they seem okay, it's a good part of town, or they look okay, or I think they're okay. If you check out one, you check out all. That's not just a fair housing thing, but that is a safety thing. The minute you let your guard down, that's when you're going to be in trouble. One of the things that I do is and let's move on here. Let's talk about the next step, and that is not judging a book by its cover. So and one thing I do is I put up a slide. I said, let's say you're the agent who thinks you can look someone up and down and make a judgment. And I show a picture of a guy next to a beat up pickup truck in overalls or jeans and a baseball cap. And I say, let's say you are the real estate agent, the upscale luxury agent, and you look at this fella and you judge a book by its cover. It's Sam Walton. No one ever guessed he's beat up and he's just a regular guy. I said, if you judge that book by its cover, it would cost you business. The owner of Walmart, one of the richest men in the world, you could not look at him and tell that. Then the next picture I show is of Ted Bundy, notorious serial killer. He was always described as charismatic, charming, good-looking, clean-cut. And people look at him and they think he looks okay. And he used to base his appearance. That's how he got victims. He looked okay. So if you judge that book by its cover, it costs you your life. So that's what I'm telling agents. We need to stop making generalizations, whether it's about neighborhoods or who you're working with. You need to do your homework and know who you're dealing with from the start.
Wow. So you know what? I just wrote down on this sheet of paper, I wrote down social media and I'm going to take this is going back in time before forewarned. I received a call from someone who said that they were referred to me by an agent. In today's society, people look at our social media to see who we're connected with. If anyone contacts you and says that another agent referred you, always call that agent to confirm, one, the referral, and two, do they want a referral agreement before you work with said person. The person actually mentioned a very prominent Chicago agent who I am friends with. The only issue I had was that this agent would have serviced the person themselves. So the person was asking me for properties in Northwest Indiana. And the next red flag was the price range. The price range they were looking at was $500,000 up to $1.5 million. No one to me has essentially $1 million price range. Okay. So when I'm talking to them, I'm like, okay, well, one, I need to call this person to see if they referred them. Who has this type of price range? So then instantly I said, look, let me refer you to someone else in Northwest Indiana, because I only specialize on the south side of the city of Chicago. They said, well, I would be willing to look at something on the south side of the city of Chicago. Let's pump the brakes. No one is going from Northwest Indiana to the south side of the city of Chicago. So I said, well, let me give you a call back. That's when I just started doing some online research, and I did find that their number was registered, get this, to a southwest side where the price point of that house was $124,000, and it was registered to a elderly woman. Okay. This was I would say probably a 40-year-old gentleman of color. We stopped right then and there.
Right.
We stopped right then and there, because what people also don't realize is that a lot of crimes of opportunity actually occur in rural communities, because in Chicago, we have essentially 4-foot gangways in between our properties. It's that proximity that somebody likely will see you. Everybody on my block has a ring, front facing and rear facing ring. So if they see something out of the ordinary, they're going to point it out. Oh, we saw Marky pulled up at, the neighbors could tell you what time I pulled up, right?
Right.
But in a rural area, you won't have that. So social media can also be a tool used for opportunity. If you ever get a referral, call to validate the referral.
I agree. And speaking of social media, here's what I'm excited about nowadays. Okay. Are you familiar with the Nextdoor app?
I am familiar with Nextdoor. They just let me know I got 21 messages I haven't responded to.
Let me tell you about Nextdoor. I am addicted to Nextdoor. Nextdoor is my next thing. Nextdoor is made up of like 269,000 neighborhoods, not people, but neighborhoods, actual neighborhoods. That's where people live. That's where homeowners live. That's where apartment dwellers live. That's where people live. And if you look at Nextdoor, you'll see the engagement is a little different than what you see on other social media. Whenever we hear people talking, any other social media expert, you're telling people, agents, to be an expert. Get out, know your community, know your town, be an expert. I am teaching people to use Nextdoor. Real estate agents need to be on Nextdoor. And here's why. Nextdoor allows you to be a good neighbor. Nextdoor allows you to go interview your local small business owners like you all tell us to do. Interview your small business owner, write a review, look at the feedback that happens on Nextdoor. Did you know Nextdoor will allow you to create a free event now? My sister Stacy uses Nextdoor to advertise or to promote her events. She does community homebuyer workshops, and she uses Nextdoor events for that. She uses Nextdoor groups. There are groups for anything that you can imagine. Groups for women over 50, groups for people who ski, groups for people who love chocolate, any and every kind of group on Nextdoor. What I am telling real estate agents is to create that market report group on Nextdoor. Watch the engagement. I created a live music group on Nextdoor because I love live music. I created a live music group, and all of a sudden there's almost 300 people who found that group. So it's my job to keep content there. The engagement on Nextdoor is off the charts. People want to be there. I get a notification just like you do anytime anything is happening in my neighborhood. If someone is jiggling car handles in my neighborhood within a certain radius that I have set up from my house. I think I have up to 5 miles. I'm nosy like that. I want to know what's going on. If there are break-ins in my neighborhood, I want to know. If they're close to me, I need to know. So I can be the person who jumps on and says, hey, everyone, I happen to be a safety expert. Here is a safety tool that you may need to know. What I'm telling real estate agents to do is to be a good neighbor. Jump on there and say, hey, I'm a real estate agent. I know contractors. Do your due diligence, but here are 3 contractors that I would recommend for your situation. If you see someone on talking about bugs on their plants or gardening issues, be a good neighbor. Your profile picture should have your real estate company, your real estate logo, but don't go on there. I'm a real estate agent. Let me sell your house. I'm a real estate agent. Don't do it. Be a good neighbor. I happen to be a real estate agent, and I know a resource for, a contractor, or I saw that there are crimes in your area. You might want to be careful and look out. So you can farm, and I know you do the digital farming, but I'm saying Nextdoor can do that as well. You can farm the neighborhoods that you are interested in on Nextdoor. I have a radius of, I want to say, 5 to 10 miles from my house. All of the neighborhoods around here, I pick the ones that I'm interested in. Agents can do the exact same thing. And Marky, Nextdoor is where real estate agents need to be. And that's my next class. I'm creating it as I speak. And I'm saying it from the safety perspective as well as being a good neighbor perspective. I'm excited about it, if you can't tell.
I can tell you're excited about it. And let me say this, maybe a year or 2 ago, I was supposed to become more engaged in Nextdoor. I downloaded the app. I told you I got however many messages over there I haven't answered. So what you're saying to me lets me know to re-engage because it might be the app that I need to become more familiar with, because currently I'm not, and I really didn't do a good job when it was told to me to do this a year, 2 years ago. I'm not quite sure when, but thank you for giving me something. When I think about the things to take away, this is definitely going to be among the top things to take away. And I think that your new course will be a fabulous class for realtors. But what I like what you said was be a good neighbor first. Don't try to go sell and then even form that community group. Now, here's what's interesting about what you just said, is that I'm always telling them, what's that one thing that you truly enjoy doing that you're willing to share consistently? That would be Nextdoor. If it's gardening, something that you mentioned, if it's music, if it's art, if Kimberly Alford is listening, my sorority sister, Nextdoor girl, that's where you're going to go do your art thing. Okay. Just to throw that out there. If you like, a certain type of food, right? Then definitely ethnic foods. You could form a ethnic food group there or a vegan group there. So I'm thinking now I got my little possibility hat on, and I'm thinking, how can Nextdoor play into that? So as we...
Wait, before I forget. Market reports. And you think agents hear that and they think market reports are so dry. I live 5 houses down from my sister. I can look out the window and see her house. Okay. When the houses in my neighborhood go on the market, my very first text message, Stacy, how much is that house? The house on either side of me, both of them went on the market. My first text is to Stacy, how much is it and can we get into it? Okay. I happen to have a sister who's a real estate agent. Think about how many people in this neighborhood wanted to ask that exact same question. So what happens when the real estate agent in the group, who everyone knows is a real estate agent, and they see a house that's on the market, you're the first call. That market report can say highest listings in the neighborhood, the lowest listings, or the most unique listings. I guarantee you, if you set up that market report group for your market, that everyone is going there. And then I'm the girl who says, sprinkle some safety and security into your reports. Post an article, catalytic thefts are big right now in Kansas City.
They are here too. They are. Huh? Look, that probably is the number one but behind carjacking, right? We got catalytic converters. Actually, catalytic converters might be higher than carjacking because you could hit multiple cars in one night. They could take a whole block out, right? Just keep rolling right on down the street. Dirty bombs, but they could hit a whole
exactly. And if I did a community safety workshop. I had a Missouri state trooper come and he talked about catalytic theft conversions. I saw on the news today that that's a big news story. Real estate agents can take that news story, post it on Nextdoor, and then say, hey, I saw this. Here are some resources. There are burglaries. Hey, guys, here's some resources. I have to put a safety twist on everything. But I'm telling you, a market group wherever you live, and sprinkle in safety and security, because that's one thing 100% of the adults on the face of the earth care about: safety and security. They will discard gardening tips. They will discard recipes if that's not of interest to them. But every single person cares about safety. So sprinkle in safety and security tips, whether in your mailings, in your newsletters, or in your Nextdoor group. That's all.
Oh, I love it. Now I'm coming over here to Facebook. Lamont Ellaby, who is the 007 of security and ADT here in the city of Chicago, he owns Champagne Clothings. He said good stuff because he know that I took my money right up out of my underwear drawer. The money's no longer in my house. I just need you to know that. But I don't have any valuables in the underwear drawer. John Kamisic, he is a past president of Illinois Realtors. He said very important, continued best wishes. We have Maria, who jumped in and stated good knowledge for sharing. So we want to thank everyone who definitely, and Ebony Tillman, who I went to Central State University with, she's also on right now. And everyone is saying, let me say this. I know it's great anytime that I have notes and you're going to change my behavior. So everyone here has had the ability to take at least one thing away that they will change, whether it's for them personally, or even if it is for one of their buyers or their sellers, including the fact that we brought in the fair housing spin, right? That we need to do it for one, do it for all. Make sure that you understand who that seller is. And let me say this. There's big talk. I'm not going to mention his name because I'm not going to give him any credit. But a big movie out right now, people can definitely lure you to their house. And you could become the next buried body. Okay. You don't want to be that person ever. So do it to one, do it to all.
And don't judge a book by its cover.
And don't judge a book by its cover. Tracey, how would one connect with you? And look, more importantly, how will they go about getting that 13 safety tips that they can use with for sale by owners?
You taught me about landing pages. So I have, and I don't think I have my QR code here, but if they reach out to me, I'm trying to think where I have it. I didn't prepare to give that to you, but if they find me, then they can request it. All they have to do is send me an email and say FSBO safety tips, and I would get it to them just like that. It's a PDF they need to download, and they can have it, staple your business card to it, and start using it. Can I say one more thing, Marky?
Yes, you can.
Okay, so one area that I am talking about is brokers, managers, and owners. That's an area that's underserved. So one thing, after a real estate agent was murdered, her family sued the real estate company because they said if there was any kind of safety training, we believe that she would be here today. So they sued the real estate company for neglect. So that was another light bulb moment. It's like, how can I teach brokers, managers, and owners how to not get sued successfully? Anybody can get sued, but how do you do it in a way that they won't be victorious? And that's to get plans in place. Safety expert, you started our conversation with it. Don't just get a talking head who says, I'm going to talk about safety. You need someone who's going to stand up on the witness stand. So imagine something happening to one of your agents, and then someone saying, how did you protect your agents? What do you have in place? And you can show credentials of who you hired to train your agents in safety. You can show that you have safe practices in your office, not just once, not every once in a while, but safe practices on a regular basis, whether it's having a Google shared calendar, whether it's using sharing the contacts on Google Maps, where someone knows where your agents are at all time, putting practices in place, protecting the people in the office, the staff. What if someone, a disgruntled employee or former agent or client comes in? How will your staff, people in the office, handle it? What about marking the valuables in your office, the equipment? Are they engraved? Have you inventoried them? So I created a whole entire class for leadership. And I also wrote a handbook, and it's the only safe practices handbook for brokers in the country. I did that, as well as being the only one who created a safety designation for real estate agents. So I am always thinking of how can I use safety to build businesses, reduce liabilities. And then you inspired me again to be a keynote speaker. And it's like, what is my keynote? is safety culture. I finally identified it this year. So if I can get the message across to the real estate industry that we need to have safety culture, not just when something happens, but how do we bake that in on a regular basis? How do we build it into every single thing we do? And I say it's with expertise, it's with real life. I tell lessons learned. I tell stories about real estate agents, not blaming them, but here is the lesson we need to learn from this crime against real estate agent. And that's what I talked about at the NAR conference last year. But I folded into every single class. Here is what happened to real life agents. Here's what went wrong. Here's what was right. But here's how we can prevent this from ever happening again. Let's learn a lesson. And I also take myself, and you told me, you did that to me too.
I did. I'm doing a whole, let me say this.
Tracey.
So let me just say this. And because there are people who are going to reach out, right? And they're going to say, well, Marky never told me anything. So I want to clarify this. I tell people who I know are experts in their chosen field what has worked for me. I want to be very clear. If you are all over the place trying to be a jack of all trades, I'm not going to tell you nothing, okay? Because what I've realized, there are riches and niches, and most people who are millionaires and billionaires, they started with one thing and then they diversified. So I do not take pride in whispering into a person's ear who is all over the place. But there are numerous people who will listen today and they will say what it is that you said, because I have seen where their calling is. And I know that they do a phenomenal job at it because I've learned something from them, sometimes in a short period of time, sometimes in a longer period of time, that to me says, you know what, this person can own this. They own this. Oh, I learned something new today. I think you should do this, only because it worked for me. So I believe that everything that everyone needs already exists. My granddaddy told me that competition is healthy for business. I don't need to be the only keynote speaker out here, because guess what? They're not going to bring me back every single year. So I want them to have a rotation. And it's nice if my friends are in that rotation. So I want to, they'll be like, well, she told Tracey, I would have told you too, but you're doing 75 different things and you've confused me. So I don't really know what you do. I'm clear. You are the number one authority on safety in this country, and you have been talking safety, safety, safety since the day I first met you. With that, I want to thank you for being here today, for teaching me yet. Look, I got my homework. All right. And thank you and congratulations on being a speaker at the 2022 Realtor Conference and Expo, along with your sister. And the fact that this year NAR had 2 sets of twins to grace the stage. You and Stacy and Carrie and Mina. Keep us coming back. That's all I had to say.
You keep on doing what you do. I owe part of what I do to you, from videos to the speaking to the Kajabi to how to set up my business. You are my inspiration.
Thank you. And I didn't pay her to say this either.
She didn't pay me, but everybody already knows. I know I'm not the only one. You have helped make me who I am.
Thank you very much. Everyone, make sure that you reach out to Tracey Hawkins. Tracey, the safety lady. Get your 13 tips, especially when working with for sale by owners or even with sellers in your marketplace. Giving that tip sheet will allow you to stand out in a crowded market space. Let's leverage these tools, remain safe, because being a realtor is among the top 10 jobs for homicide. And I don't want anything to happen to my fellow realtors or my licensed real estate professionals. Thank you, guys.
Be safe, everybody.